Here I am, back with another video. Today, without the light of God and without any screen sharing, but instead I have a new haircut and a low quality video. And I have decided not to draw or write anything on the screen while talking, because I think that focusing entirely on talking helps me, well, talk better. And after all, that's the main purpose of these videos, to improve my ability to talk. This is also the last video that I will do on the laptop. From tomorrow on, I will test the microphone I bought off Amazon. I think it's shit. Based on a few tests I've done, it's complete shit. But I will make 10 videos with it anyways, because I decided to make 10 video experimental cycles with this. Now, what am I going to talk about in today's video? I'm not quite sure. I have something to talk about. So essentially, I want to get better or more productive. Or not necessarily more productive, but I want to get more calm at work. And so I think this is a stupid thing to think about. But anyways, and so I want to implement, let's call it a system, where I always start the day or always follow the same order of tasks at work, which obviously is kind of a great advantage of the work that I do, that I can plan my day like that, because there's hardly any meetings or stuff that I have to attend. At the same time, I think I can kind of just, what I kind of have to do is, or what I have already done, but what I have to properly actually do, this makes no sense. What I have already done is I have created a small spreadsheet where I can essentially tick off all the actions that I want to do while at work. And now really what this comes down to is to actually staying at work long enough in order to be able to finish all the actions. Long story short, I honestly don't know what I'm gonna do there. And I'm also thinking that this is a very productive thing to think about. It makes me wonder what I should talk about then. I honestly don't know. Once again. One thought that I had today was that maybe I should focus more on habits and actions that immediately improve my life and focus less on big abstract stuff. But I don't really know what the main takeaways right now would be for that, to be honest. I think there are two things that I really can talk about, or two things that are on my mind right now. The first one are these videos, because I'm planning to stop making these YouTube videos by the start of April, and I'm not sure if that's a good idea, because I really think like this is a kind of project that while the outcome, these videos are completely shit, I do think that, well, I wouldn't call it working on these videos, but making these videos and experimenting with some kind of somewhat creative thing, let's call it experimenting with some kind of creative project, I think is actually quite good for me. And so I'm not sure if I should stop doing that, but I probably will. Man, I really don't know if this might be a mistake. So, but I don't really have any arguments for one side or the other one. Essentially, the main argument is that I made the decision to stop making YouTube videos to focus more on school. And so what I want to talk about is also my strategy for school. And this morning I tried to do some shit for school, but essentially I just ended up wasting 1 hour. And I'm not completely sure why I did waste that hour, or like what the lessons are that I can take from this. I mean, I think a good lesson is to just push through resistance, because I'm not quite sure, but I had 3 tasks. Man, the weird thing with this camera on the laptop is that instead, unlike the camera on the phone that I used, everything is on the other hand, on the other side of stuff. I don't know what the English expression is, but like I'm raising my left hand, and on the screen, I'm also raising my left hand, but on the screen my left hand is on the right, and this wasn't the case on the phone. But anyways, I'm getting distracted again. So one of the reasons why I failed getting anything productive done at school, or at my school project, let's call it that, was because I couldn't get myself to push through resistance. And man, bro, I really don't know. The issue, no, it was like essentially what I did, and I don't know how fast I did this, but one approach, one perspective I can take on this wasted hour is that I came up with what I wanted to say 2 minutes ago was I came up with 3 tasks that I can do to progress with school. And those 3 tasks are: 1, start a chat with 10 people, then make a Zoom call or something like that with 10 people, and then after that, continue watching the course that I'm currently watching on YouTube. And well, like the task that I would have had was to start 10, or at least start one chat with someone, and I couldn't get myself to do it. Part of the reason, really, it was just me not wanting to do it on a real level, but also I think that the thought that came up preventing me from actually pushing myself to do it was that this is not a very authentic thing to do. I'm not sure if it was authentic or not. I think that's just bullshit, actually, at least in this case. But it is really not a very useful thing for me to do. Because outside of pushing myself through resistance, I don't think having that talk has any positive impact on my life. Or really, I think the person that I wanted to write, I would have had a talk with her. It was basically an older, it was basically an older woman, and I think there were, like, I was commenting on some of her posts, and then she answered to one of my comments, and she was kind of, you could say, giving me some kind of life advice. And I don't really, while I do agree with the life advice that she gave me, I don't see any proper way to implement that advice at this moment right now, or to change anything that I do at this moment right now. And so, really, I'm thinking, like, bro, there's not much to talk about it. Like, it's really just talking with each other for the sake of talking to each other, which, as an introvert, I absolutely fucking hate. And basically, this is just an elaborate form of networking. And interestingly enough, I have read a book on networking for introverts, at least I have started reading it a few months ago. I can't believe it's a few months ago, but it is. Time flies by way too fucking fast. And there were some tips on how to make networking more efficient as an introvert. But really, what it came down to, I think, was the networking that was described in the book was really just a different form of a sales technique, really. Like, the main thing was about, it was also about going to networking events, and so you kind of wanted to figure out, I think, like, I can't remember very well what was written and what the book said you should do, but I think two of the key parts that I can remember was that before going to events, you want to find out who the most interesting or the most useful people to talk to are, and find out some stuff about them, and then also message them online before meeting up in person, which is like, yeah, it's a good networking technique, but it doesn't really solve the main issue that I have with networking, or it doesn't really solve the main issue that I think introverts have with networking, which is that really it's just a people trying to sell shit to each other, pretending to just do networking. And so that was the first one, the first step, finding out who to talk to beforehand and then messaging them beforehand. And the second piece of advice I can remember from that book is to prepare a story beforehand about basically your offer and someone you have had with that offer. And then make sure the story is good by, well, preparing it beforehand, and then also just telling the story over and over to different people you meet in order to get better at telling the story. And that's really all I got from it. I think there were also like 3 different types of people you could network with, but I kind of forgot who they were, what the types were. But the main issue I have with networking at the moment is that, okay, it's like, the main thing that I want to work on right now is not on selling people shit, which is basically what networking is the build up to. Let's be honest here. And what I really want to focus on right now, or what I feel I have to focus on, and I think that is a pretty solid thing to do, is that I need to keep improving my own life. And so arguably the way to get better at the school or progress this school project then is to build my life in a way where I can reliably improve my life, and then parallel to that also where I can do some networking parallel to that. Now the issue is that the course is kind of contradictory in itself, because on one hand it says that you should consume three different sources of it, or you should consume three different sources online of your three areas of interest. But then it also says that you shouldn't really, and it says that you should, let's try this again. The course says that you should consume in three areas of interest, and that for each of your three areas of interest, you should consume from only one person in there. But then at the same time, the course also says that you should, before you have finished the course, you should only consume the course. And then the course also says on top of that, that you shouldn't just consume content without acting, but instead you should kind of actively, or it's like there are two principles. It's like the principle is that you should not consume content without acting, which I definitely agree with. And then the way they implement this is by saying that you should, instead of just randomly watching content, you should have a problem in your life that you want to solve, and then actively search for content in order to improve, or in order to solve your problem in your life. Now, the problem is that when I go online and I try to solve a problem online, then I will probably consume content from different people and not consume all content from one person. And the reason why the course says you should consume all the content from one person is because it also says that you should comment on the content from those people in order to kind of build some attention and some social following online. Which I get, you can better build your social following online when you are someone who always leaves quality comments on all the posts of of one person. However, that is again just an activity where you that is just an activity that you do in order to basically down the line just sell your shit. It is not an activity you effectively do in order to improve your life. Okay, so what I want to do now, and I'm not sure if that is a good way to go about it, but what I would do is I would consume all the content of one person and then basically act and comment on that content, and fuck the idea that you should search for problems, but instead it would be just using that content to basically do some experiments or do some changes in your life based on that content. Which is like an okay thing, because then you, or at least I, actually take action for once on the content that I watch, and I also write some good comments and maybe build attention through that. But I don't even buy the idea of building attention through comments, to be honest, because the course also says that you shouldn't make YouTube videos or create content on your own. You should only focus on commenting, which is like, doesn't make a lot of sense to me, the way that I understand it, or the way that I would apply it. Because if we stick with my idea of watching videos, acting on them, and then commenting on them, it's like when you write a quality comment, what you kind of want to do is you want people to see that comment and then click on your profile and then see, oh, his profile is pretty cool. Let's follow him. And well, when you don't really have a quality profile and don't really post any content that people think, oh, that's pretty cool, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to comment in the first place. So it's again this thing where you kind of have to do two things parallel to each other. You have to create quality, or you kind of want to do two things parallel to each other, where one, you want to work on creating quality content, and two, at the same time, you want to comment on people's posts in order to actually get other people to be able to see your quality content that you create. And then on top of that, because just writing random posts honestly feels like pretty shitty for me, you would also want to act on the content that you consume and then post a post or post a comment afterwards. I'm definitely overthinking this, but still. Anyways, there's like a lot of problems that I see with this. And everyone says, and the course always says, oh shit, this works. Or this is how people who have been successful have done it. But it's like, I have a lot of doubts about it. But I think I arguably. And yeah, and another problem with this is like, with YouTube, I have proper experimental cycles, so I can be like, oh, okay, making videos on my laptop doesn't really work. The video quality here, I mean, not only the video quality, but also the video quality is incredibly shit. And so then I can pretty well come up with different ways to record the video in order to try and improve the video quality. Like there's pretty good feedback, and I mean, I'm not watching my own videos, so there can be pretty good feedback, and I know pretty well what to I have pretty good ideas of what I can change in order to experiment with different things. However, with the course, it's like, well, there's not really any feedback because it's like I'm not creating something, I'm just networking with people, and networking with people is kind of it's non-linear. It's not like it's non-linear because it's not exponential, it's really binary in a sense. It's like you can talk to 99 people and all of those conversations can be incredibly shit. And then you can talk to the 100th person and that can be the conversation or the person that changes your life. Which means you kind of just have to stick to it for a long time and fucking hope for the best, really. And that's not really something that I want. That kind of hurts to do when I could also do YouTube, where there's like incremental improvements. But yeah, I mean, I've already kind of thought about a way. I mean, the thing is, the real problem here is that I have already thought about a way to properly improve my life with school. And it is to basically spend some time each day consuming content, writing down notes, and then acting on those notes and that content. And then spending some more time engaging with people in the community, chatting with them, doing comments in the community, and doing calls. However, the problem with that is that doing both things together takes quite a bit of time, and I'm not sure if I have that amount of time. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and then also the issue is like the reason why I want to stop YouTube is because I don't want to do two things parallel to each other. And it's like then I'm basically just doing another two things parallel to each other in the course. It's like I'm doing the self-improvement side of things and I'm doing the networking side of things. And I mean, what I wish I could do would be to see networking or the networking calls as a way to improve my social skills. But I mean, fucking look at me right now. I feel like the main thing that I would do in order to improve my social skills is not necessarily talking to more people, but it's rather fucking fixing my looks because I don't know if people really care about this. I mean, I can look into their fucking heads, but it's like there's a quote in the course that says, look good to feel good, and it's like, if I don't think I look good, which I definitely don't do, I also don't feel good, which God knows I definitely do not feel good. And so it's like, that's a problem. And so I feel like the main thing I can do in order to improve my social skills would be not talking to people necessarily, but working on improving my looks. But then at the same time, I can also use this subconsciously as a way to avoid talking to people. So again, the solution to that is to work on improving my looks and parallel to that, work on talking to people. And so that's again shit where things have to be parallel. It really fucking sucks. I mean, I'm really just engaging in stupid thoughts here, I think. Because what I think I have to do is, or at least what I have to do right now, I don't think that's gonna be, I think that's only a short period, but I think I have to push myself to start chatting or initiate a chat with 10 people, and then I have to ask them for a call or propose a call to them. And then I should definitely do some kind of reflection after every call. I think that will be very important. And then that is pretty much that. That's pretty much that. Yeah. I mean, I think I even have notes from one of the calls that I was invited on that I might just be able to take. Yeah, I mean, every 3 questions, better than nothing, right? Yeah, I think a good preparation for the call would be to think of a half a dozen questions that actually interest me about that person. And really, I mean, since I want to systematize, is that a word? Systematize the entire process. The idea would be to think of 6 questions that that I'm actually interested in asking. Think of 6 questions that I actually wanted to ask other people, and then also have good answers for those questions yourself. And then you can just build an interesting conversation based on those questions. However, it's like, well, I'm not really interested in most of those people, to be real with you. To be really real with you. But I think this might only be the case because the last 2 calls I haven't really pushed deep for the questions that I that would have been interesting for me or interesting to me, because I don't feel comfortable pushing people. Because, when you asked, most people I think don't think very deeply. And so if you ask them questions that go deeper than normal small talk questions, you push them to think more deeply, which again is something most people normally don't do and which can be uncomfortable to them. And so it feels disingenuous to push other people to think deeply without having thought deeply about those things that you without having thought deeply about those same questions yourself. And what I realized in the 2 calls that I had is that I can't really think deeply on the spot very well. I need to be alone and maybe make a bad 30-minute YouTube video talking about something in order to really get clarity on what I actually think about a certain question. And so, yeah, I actually think that is a good way to do these calls, to think of 6 questions that I, one, would like to ask other people, and number 2, that I would like to answer for myself, or that I would like to think about for myself, or at least that would be good for me to think about for myself. And then I can at least use these calls, I can at least achieve 3 goals at the same time with those calls, which is number 1, push myself to actually fucking do them. Number 2, ask people interesting questions or ask people questions that interest me. And number 3, talk about things that also actually interest me. Yeah, I think that is a good plan going forward. I just have to decide where I'm going to write this down. I think I will just write it down in my list of actions to take. Let's go. See you tomorrow on the phone with the microphone. Let's go.